We were already proving with archaeological evidence that everything that was written about this temple was wrong.
They said it was impossible. For over 2,000 years, the greatest mystery of the ancient world remained sealed beneath Egyptian sand. Cleopatra's tomb, the final resting place of history's most legendary queen, vanished without a trace. Empires crumbled, deserts shifted, countless expeditions failed. Until 3 months ago, deep beneath a forgotten temple, archaeologists breached a chamber that wasn't supposed to exist. What they discovered inside wasn't just gold or ancient artifacts. It was something that defies every law of physics we understand. An object that glows without heat, that hums without machinery, that seems to respond to human presence as if it's somehow aware. And the inscriptions surrounding it? They weren't warnings. They were instructions for a technology we weren't supposed to find for another 1,000 years. Before we reveal what this object does and why governments are now involved, hit that subscribe button. Because what was found in Cleopatra's tomb will rewrite everything you thought you knew about ancient Egypt. The mystery begins now. The Queen WHO vanished. Cleopatra VII. The name alone conjures images of beauty, power, and intrigue. She was the last pharaoh of Egypt, a brilliant strategist who spoke 9 languages, charmed Julius Caesar, captivated Mark Antony, and nearly changed the course of Western civilization. But when she died in 30 BCE, something unprecedented happened. Her body disappeared. Roman historians documented her death in vivid detail. They described the asp bite, the poison, the theatrical staging of her final moments. They wrote about Mark Antony's burial beside her, about the funeral procession, about the tomb, befitting a queen, but they never revealed where. For archaeologists, this wasn't just frustrating, it was suspicious. The Romans were meticulous record keepers. They documented everything, every battle, every treaty, every architectural monument, yet somehow, the location of history's most famous queen simply vanished from their accounts. Why? Some historians believe Octavian, later Emperor Augustus, deliberately concealed the location. He feared Cleopatra's tomb could become a shrine, a rallying point for Egyptian resistance against Roman rule. By erasing its location from history, he erased her power. Others suggest something darker. Ancient Egyptian priests left cryptic descriptions of her burial. They wrote that she was the bride returning to Osiris, and that her union was unseen by mortal eyes. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as poetic metaphor. They were wrong. The breathing desert. The first clue emerged not from archaeology, but from Soviet oil prospectors. In 1972, a seismic research team was conducting ground surveys near Lake Mariat, a shallow saltwater lake southwest of Alexandria. Their mission was straightforward: find petroleum deposits. What they found instead changed everything. Beneath the limestone bedrock, their instruments detected something impossible. A rhythm. Not the chaotic tremors of natural seismic activity, not the mechanical vibrations of human construction. This was different. It was slow, measured, and disturbingly regular. A pulse that repeated every 42 seconds with mathematical precision. The Soviet scientists ran diagnostics. They recalibrated their equipment. They checked for interference from nearby machinery. The pulse remained steady, constant, alive. Local Bedouin tribes had a name for the area: Abal Nafas, the place that breathes. The research team documented their findings and filed a classified report. Then, as Cold War tensions escalated and funding dried up, the data was archived and forgotten. For nearly 30 years, that underground pulse continued, unmonitored and unexplained, until satellite technology caught up. In 2003, new orbital surveys using ground-penetrating radar targeted the same limestone ridge. The images revealed geometric formations beneath the sand, sharp, symmetrical patterns that nature doesn't create. Thermal imaging showed these structures extending 12 meters underground, radiating residual heat as if something inside was generating its own warmth. When researchers overlaid the formations onto a digital grid, they saw it. An ankh. Not carved into stone, not visible to the naked eye, only existing in the data itself, a massive outline of the ancient Egyptian symbol of life, stretching across 200 meters of desert. And it pointed directly toward a plateau historically associated with the goddess Isis. Cleopatra famously called herself the living embodiment of Isis. The connection was impossible to ignore. The anomaly intensifies. Dr. Kathleen Martinez had spent 15 years being dismissed as obsessive. A Dominican lawyer turned archaeologist, she'd staked her career on a single conviction. Cleopatra wasn't buried in Alexandria. She was buried at Taposiris Magna, a crumbling temple complex 45 kilometers west of the ancient capital. Everyone said she was wrong. The evidence said otherwise. When Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities approved her expedition in early 2023, Martinez arrived at the coordinates with a team of geophysicists, archaeologists, and engineers. Within hours of deploying their monitoring equipment, the readings began. The pulse. Every 42 seconds, a low-frequency vibration rippled through the bedrock. The sensors confirmed what the Soviet team had detected half a century earlier. But now, with modern equipment, they could trace its source. It was coming from directly beneath the temple foundation. One of the geophysicists, Dr. Ahmed Hassan, noted the significance immediately. In ancient Egyptian mythology, 42 wasn't just a number. It represented the 42 judges of Ma'at, the divine assessors who weighed the hearts of the dead in the afterlife. Coincidence? The team didn't think so. They deployed thermal imaging drones at night. The scans revealed underground corridors forming a vast rectangular layout, proportions identical to royal tomb complexes from Cleopatra's era. Core samples told an even stranger story. The upper layers of sand were normal, but deeper sections contained fragments of ancient plaster mixed with bitumen and traces of mercury. These weren't natural geological deposits. They were sealing agents used in Egyptian royal burials to preserve and protect sacred chambers. Something was down there, and it had been deliberately hidden. The sand that moved. The first collapse happened on the third night. Security cameras captured footage that none of the team could explain. The sand across the ridge began moving in rhythmic waves, rising and falling in perfect synchronization with the underground pulse. No wind. No earthquake. Just the desert itself, breathing. Workers who saw the footage refused to sleep near the excavation site. Bedouin guides warned that disturbing the earth would wake what sleeps below. Most of the scientists dismissed it as superstition. Then the tremors grew stronger. Dr. Martinez ordered a controlled excavation. As they broke through the surface layer, the sand didn't just shift, it collapsed inward, revealing smooth stone beneath, carved limestone, inscribed with hieroglyphs. The first visible proof. Taposiris Magna wasn't just a temple. It was the entrance to something far larger. The Temple of Two Languages. The inscriptions identified the complex as the Great Tomb of Osiris, god of resurrection and ruler of the underworld. In Egyptian belief, to be buried near Osiris was to claim divine immortality. But what stunned the team wasn't the dedication to Osiris. It was the language. Every inscription appeared twice. Once in Egyptian hieroglyphs, once in ancient Greek, carved with equal precision and care. Egyptian temples never blended languages. Sacred spaces were exclusively hieroglyphic. The presence of Greek was unprecedented and deliberate. Dr. Martinez understood immediately. Cleopatra ruled at the intersection of two worlds, the Greek Ptolemaic dynasty and the ancient Egyptian priesthood. This temple reflected her identity perfectly, part Hellenistic ruler, part Egyptian goddess. Discoveries around the altar confirmed royal involvement. Coins stamped with Cleopatra's profile. Statues of Isis holding a falcon, symbol of rebirth. Chemical traces of blue lotus resin and bitumen, royal embalming materials. But then the instruments reacted again. Ground sensors detected that same low-frequency hum, now stronger, rising from deep beneath the temple floor. Every 42 seconds, the signal pointed downward, into the bedrock. The impossible tunnel. When they deployed ground-penetrating radar beneath the temple sanctuary, the image made the room fall silent. A tunnel, carved through solid limestone, perfectly straight and level for over 1-2 kilometers. Even modern engineers would struggle to achieve that precision without advanced machinery. Yet someone, thousands of years ago, had created it with Bronze Age tools. Martinez ordered a camera lowered through a narrow borehole. The feed showed polished walls with curved ceilings. No tool marks, no structural damage, no erosion despite 2 millennia underground. And carved along the entire length, repeating every few meters, Ankh and Ra, life renewed. Martinez recognized it as a ritual passage, not just a corridor, but a symbolic journey from death to resurrection. The tunnel descended at a precise angle. leading to what appeared on the scans as a sealed circular chamber, approximately 20 meters in diameter, radiating heat. When they finally broke through the final barrier, the sound wasn't the crack of stone. It was a resonance, deep, chest vibrating, alive. Warm air rushed out, sharp with the smell of resin and ozone. The dust cleared, and they saw the chamber. The chamber of stars. The walls weren't stone. They were covered in a black, glassy substance that reflected light like obsidian, as if the rock had been melted and fused by extreme heat. Embedded across the ceiling were hundreds of tiny blue stones, lapis lazuli, arranged in constellation patterns. The Egyptians had recreated the night sky. But this wasn't decoration. It was a map. The patterns showed Isis standing over Osiris, beams of light connecting her hands to specific stars. According to mythology, this was the moment of resurrection, when divine power flowed from the heavens to restore life. The ceiling wasn't art, it was instruction. Near the floor, warnings appeared in both Greek and Egyptian. Disturb the union and the balance shall break. Blood shall drip from the left eye down. No one wanted to read it aloud. Everywhere they looked. Signs of elaborate sealing. Veins of mercury and lead ran through the plaster. Broken jars lined the corners. Under one column, they found a small golden scarab engraved with a prayer. Bind the soul to its body. Martinez studied it in silence before whispering. This chamber wasn't built to display the dead. It was built to contain them. The black sarcophagus. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform. Two stone biers sat side by side, their surfaces glazed as if burned by intense heat. Between them, a sarcophagus, carved from a single block of black granite. It shimmered with an oily reflection under the lights. The lid weighed several tons, edges sealed with hardened resin and lead. When they finally lifted it, warm air poured out. The temperature inside was 7 degrees higher than the surrounding chamber. Two figures lay wrapped in gold-threaded linen, their funerary masks fused into the fabric. Between them rested a bronze cylinder, positioned perfectly between their arms. And every 42 seconds, it vibrated. The male body showed ritual damage, chest cavity opened, ribs bent outward, filled with mercury-laden resin. The female body was better preserved, wearing a pendant shaped like Isis with outstretched wings. Around her wrist, a bracelet molded as a cobra, fangs bared. The same creature said to have killed Cleopatra. Martinez whispered 2 words. It's her. DNA testing later confirmed. Ptolemaic bloodline. Royal markers. But it was what surrounded the sarcophagus that changed everything. The circle of the dead. Beyond the main chamber, a narrow passage twisted sharply right, opening into a circular room. 36 skulls, placed in shallow alcoves, all facing inward. 12 male, 12 female, 12 children. Each skull's eye sockets were dusted with gold powder. Each was missing its lower jaw, deliberately removed to prevent reconstruction. At the center, a stone platform carved with the Ankh. On top, 2 bronze cups fused by heat. One contained dried human blood. Above the alcoves, inscriptions repeated. They guard the passage and keep the balance. Electromagnetic sensors detected pulses matching the 42-second rhythm. Crew members reported pressure behind their eyes. Metallic tastes. Chest tightness. Doctor. Martinez stepped to the threshold and froze. This isn't a tomb, she said quietly. It's a mechanism, made of death. The object. Back in the main chamber, the team focused on the bronze cylinder. It was approximately 40 centimeters long, etched with spiral patterns that seemed to shift under changing light. When they brought it to the surface for analysis, 3 things became immediately clear. 1. It wasn't hollow, dense, heavy, made of an bronze alloy that shouldn't exist, containing trace elements not found in any known ancient metallurgy. 2. It emitted that pulse, every 42 seconds, a vibration detectable by instruments but also felt physically by anyone holding it. 3. It glowed. Not brightly, but in darkness. It produced a faint blue-green luminescence. No heat, no radiation, just light. Materials scientists were baffled. Dr. Sarah Chen, a physicist from MIT brought in for consultation, ran spectroscopic analysis. Her conclusion: this object contains a crystalline structure we've never seen before. It's generating electromagnetic fields in a pattern that suggests, I don't know how to say this, intentional design. When asked what it was designed to do, she went silent. The inscriptions on the cylinder were partially decoded. The breath between worlds. The bridge of Ma'a. What was separated shall reunite. But it was the final line that sent chills through the research team. When the 42 judge, the sleeper wakes. Government intervention. Within 48 hours of the discovery, the Egyptian government placed the site under military lockdown. International teams were removed. All artifacts were transferred to an undisclosed location. Official statement. Preservation protocols for culturally sensitive materials. Unofficially, sources reported that the object's electromagnetic signature was interfering with navigation systems within a 2-kilometer radius. Compasses spun. GPS signals failed. Electronic equipment malfunctioned. Dr. Martinez was barred from further excavation. Her last recorded statement before communications were severed. We didn't find Cleopatra's tomb. We found her laboratory, and whatever she built down there, it's still active. What happens next? The bronze cylinder remains in a secured facility. The chamber beneath Taposiris Magna is sealed. But the pulse continues. Every 42 seconds. Growing stronger. Some researchers believe Cleopatra engineered a technology combining Egyptian mysticism with Hellenistic science, something designed to function across millennia. Others think we've triggered a countdown. The 42 judges, the guardian skulls, the warnings about balance. What if opening the tomb wasn't a discovery? What if it was an activation? Conclusion. For 2,000 years, Cleopatra's greatest secret remained buried. Now it's awake, and we still don't understand what it does. Was she trying to preserve knowledge, protect something, or did she create a weapon that could only be activated in our time? One thing is certain. The greatest mystery isn't what we found. It's what happens next. What do you think? Was Cleopatra protecting the future, or warning us? Drop your theory in the comments below. And if you want to follow this story as it develops, subscribe now, because this is far from over. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.